Hey everyone, I'm Kristen, the anxiety therapist, and today I want to talk about alcohol. This video was actually prompted by a session I had with a client yesterday, in addition to a couple articles I read in the news this morning about alcohol consumption before, during, and after the pandemic, which was pretty interesting. So when they studied the people in the age group of 20 to 49, they actually found that alcohol was responsible for 1 in 5 deaths, and that drinking was a pandemic habit that most people wanted to kick. Like if there was one habit they could choose that they acquired during the pandemic, it was drinking. And this really disproportionately affected women because they were sort of balancing responsibilities between home, work, and caregiving. And for all people, men and women alike, you know, when we had those blurred lines between home and work, when we were all working from home, we didn't have that transitional time. So maybe prior to the pandemic, you had a commute to work. And so maybe you had 30 minutes, 45 minutes in the car or on the train where you could kind of decompress. Or maybe you walked or rode your bike to work and got a little bit of exercise to release some of that tension and stress. Well, when we didn't have that, when those lines were blurred, a lot of people would turn to alcohol to kind of alleviate that stress. And I mean, myself included, I found myself drinking significantly more toward the end of the pandemic. And then even after life got, somewhat back to this new normal, I found that I was just drinking more and have really recently made a concerted effort to cut back on that and really just save it for the weekends. There's also been a lot of marketing of new alcohol products that really target women and especially moms. And so we can kind of get caught up in that wine culture and that marketing. And I don't want to throw a bunch of statistics at you and make this video, all about the stats and why you shouldn't drink. But I just want to kind of bring awareness to the fact that you don't need to be getting wasted every night and be binge drinking all the time to want to change these habits, because even drinking, 1 drink a day or 2 drinks a day can still impact us, whether it's sleep or mood or what have you. So I think it's just, this video is intended for you to just kind of be reflective on the role that alcohol plays in your life. And using terminology like alcoholic or alcoholism is a little bit outdated. Now there's a diagnosis referred to as alcohol use disorder. And so this is what therapists and psychologists use to make a formal diagnosis. But I think that can also be kind of stigmatizing, and it can deter people from wanting to change their ways because they can sort of convince themselves like, oh, well, I'm not that bad. I don't have a diagnosis. And it really doesn't matter. It's more about quality of life and the relationship that you personally have with alcohol. That's what's important. So you don't need to go to a 12-step program or anything drastic like that. It's just, try to look at the role that alcohol plays. And there's been sort of this recent movement to get what we call sober curious. And so that's just asking yourself, like, would my life be better if I drank less, And you could do this as an experiment. We try to create new healthy habits all the time. And so you can consider this maybe a new healthy habit that you're trying out. So maybe try to abstain from drinking for a week or a month and just see how you feel. See if it even makes a difference. Some people might notice a significant difference. Other people might notice, okay, it was fine. I'm still going to drink here and there, but it's just for you to sort of gather information about how alcohol impacts you personally. And, if you have found yourself drinking more, I think you're in the same boat with a lot of people, and it's not a moral failing. It's not like you're doing anything wrong. We all sort of went through this collective trauma with the pandemic. And so I think most importantly, you need to give yourself some grace and self-compassion and self-care, and kind of use those things to counteract the habit of drinking, as opposed to getting down on yourself or berating yourself for having a hard time stopping, because that's just going to make it worse, right? If you feel that guilt. Some other things to note are that drinking over time actually decreases the dopamine in our brain. And over time, that can lead to symptoms of anxiety and depression. So the neurotransmitters in our brains are really important for mood, for regulation, for sleep, for a lot of important bodily functions. So that's just another thing to keep in mind, that we want to make sure those neurotransmitters are as balanced as possible. And just to know that genetics plays a big role. So not only in terms of having a problematic relationship with alcohol, like if you have a parent or somebody else in your family who also has been a problem drinker, there's a big genetic component there. But also, some people just have a much stronger positive sensation in their brains when they drink. And so drinking might feel different from person to person. And if you have that genetic factor in there, just to be aware of that too, that drinking actually might feel better to you than it does the next person. And obviously, something that feels good is something that we want to continue doing. So again, I encourage you to ask yourself, would my life be better if I drank less? And maybe experiment with that, take some time off, just look at the role that it plays. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. And if you feel like you do need some outside accountability or some help in working with these habits, please reach out to a mental health professional, because it can be really helpful to have somebody guide you along that path. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I put out new content weekly, so be sure to follow me on social media at Cathartic Space Counseling, or subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Anxiety Therapist, or check out my website, catharticspacecounseling.com. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.